Michelle Midigo and Elizabeth Mwaura, karibuni sana. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for that introduction. Thank you. And I'm so sorry to you all for that technical issue. We hope it won't happen again. Yeah. So today we are privileged to have Tabitha Susanna, counseling psychologist, who chose to be with us tonight, and to share with us on facts about depression, and also to help us, as in to equip us with knowledge, and also to do away with the myths and the misconceptions about depression. Psychology. Tabitha Susan, welcome so much to Youthful Expressions. Thank you for choosing to be with us tonight. Please give
Good.
us a brief introduction about yourself.
So thank you, Michelle and the team. Tabitha Susan is my name. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. Currently on private practice in Laikipia County. Also working closely with the organization Destiny Shapers Mentorship Program and Taksha Consultancy. You're free to follow us on our social media platforms. I'll write the names on the chat. I have an undergraduate in counseling psychology and a master's on the same, and I'm really humbled to be here today.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind, please tell us about Taksha Consultancy.
So Taksha Consultancy is a firm based in Nanyuki, where we offer professional counseling, both on one-on-one and also virtually, now with COVID-19. Now that people at times may not be able to come physically, we also offer the services virtually.
Oh. Awesome. And how about your mentorship program? It's called Destiny Shapers, yeah?
Yes, Destiny Shapers Mentorship Program.
Yeah.
We have various programs, and you can see some of the works we've been able to do via our Facebook account and also our Instagram page. So we offer trainings, mentorship programs, just like we are doing here today. So that is just part of what we do.
Nice. So that mentorship programs, like your own shows, or you invite people to seminars, or how will people know about your mentorship program? Like how do you advise about it?
So we've been having actually shows every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Zoom for the young adults on various topics. You can see the posters. We occasionally post the posters on our Facebook account. Also, every Wednesday at 11 a.m., we have various interactions. Like recently, we were tackling financial management, whereby we have someone coming on board and we have a live interview with them. So that happens every Wednesday at 11 a.m. So you can participate in that.
Awesome. That's nice. So before we move on to depression, I'd like my co-host Elizabeth Mwaura to introduce herself first before we proceed.
Hi everyone, I hope mnanisikia vizuri. I'm really trying to do everything with hii technology ya siku hizi nakwambia. But thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. My name is Elizabeth Mwaura and I am your co-host, and I'm glad to be here, ready to learn a lot about depression, ready to hear from our guest today. And yes, I am. Thank you so much, Michelle, for giving me this opportunity. Na karibuni sana.
Asante sana. So Tabitha, we can now move on swiftly to depression talks. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, ready. Okay. So my first question is, define for us what depression is. A simple definition of depression.
I'll define, but allow me to also pinpoint. Can I pick someone to just tell us what do they think depression is? I had a few people just talk at the beginning. Maybe you can pinpoint someone to tell us what do they think depression is and what is stress in their own layman language.
Okay. Ray Himemia, if you don't mind, do that for us.
Nakwambia unakuanga
Nimekutegea.
umenieka tu hapo kwa fingertips. Anyway, thank you. I think, first of all, that this is a great topic to discuss. Thank you, Madam Tabitha, for being with us today. Is being in, yeah, that's what I think.
Ray, we did hear you well, like you are
Okay.
breaking. If you don't mind, please repeat your definition of depression. We
Oh,
lost.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. So I had said that I think depression
Yeah.
is being in an unstable state of mind. It's not like being insane, it's just being unstable. You're not thinking straight at some point, not all the time, at some point. And I think it is stress related.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, good one.
Thank
And
you.
maybe we can run with that definition. I'll begin with what we know. Just like you mentioned, there's that difference between stress and depression. And one clear cut in the simplest of terms that I can think of is stress is a day-to-day part of life. All of us experience stress, and having stress does not mean you are unwell, but you could be healthy, but you're experiencing some stresses, either at work, at home, and all that. But depression, on the other hand, depression is an illness. Depression is a mental illness. So the difference is that stress is not an illness, but it's something that we all battle in different stages in life. But depression is a mental illness. And when one is unwell, they require to get proper help. The same way when you have a headache, you go and take your Panadol. So that is what happens. So for depression is an illness, but stress is just part of our day-to-day life. So back to you, Michelle.
Okay, so depression is an illness, and okay, from the statistics, people are saying that a lot of young people are suffering from depression. Is that true? Ama they're just suffering from stress or some a little breakdown, then they are classifying it as depression?
So we are going to try and see maybe some definitions, but it's true. Actually, many young people are going through depression, and depression can come, it can have various triggers. And triggers are those things that maybe prompt one to be prone to depression. It could be maybe depression is running in the family, or there's another mental illness in the family, whereby when you're faced with maybe stressful encounters, you find yourself now falling into depression. So some of the things, depression can also be brought about by losing a loved one, for instance, whereby you're grieving, but the entire process is not something you're able to process. So yes, many young people are actually finding themselves now into depression, and we are going to see the symptoms. And I hope we're also going to demystify maybe some of the things that we've been thinking that is depression, but actually it's just stress.
True. So, if you don't mind, will please clarify for us the difference between stress, anxiety, depression, and depression?
Good. So I'll do that in form of an image, and I'll request maybe one person to read for us what they are going to see. I'll look at it in three ways. I'll look at it depression, stress, and burnout. So maybe you can also read for us, Michelle. What can you see? What is stress from your screen? And feel free to take screenshots of this. You can use them also on Google. So just read for us.
Yeah. So stress, chronic stressors over time without insufficient recovery processes leads to burnout. Stress evolves to burnout during a complex process that involves insufficient recovery processes paired with chronic work stressors.
Go ahead.
Burnout, increased exhaustion, cynicism, and decreased self-efficiency. Burnout is a psychological syndrome that involves
Sism?
a yeah, sorry, I repeat.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
Oh,
just go ahead. I guess you are clear.
okay. Burnout is a psychological syndrome that involves a prolonged response to chronic stressors on the job.
And
Depression.
mhm.
Burnout is a job-specific phenomenon, and depression is context-free. However, if you are experiencing depression and work conflicts are present, burnout is most often and part of the process.
Good. So for this one, I tried to focus more on maybe now as a young person, you are being involved in various activities. It could be work, it could be some are in school, some are also having stresses at home with family members. So whereby when you find yourself that you're now having that constant stressful or rather exposure to stressful situations, you find yourself maybe being prone now to what we are talking about, being burned out. You're not able to take good care of yourself. So self-care is not a factor that you have put into your schedule. So you end up also now finding yourself having poor coping skills, and then it probably even triggers now a mental illness, which is now depression.
Nice. And so, what are the causes of depression? What really
Because
causes?
yeah, just like I was mentioning, we can have various causes, and maybe even someone can ask even on the chat box. Feel free to write what are some things or some uh, things that you have thought bring about depression. Maybe I'll start with one. If depression or rather a mental illness is running in the family, that can be one of the causes. So someone is predisposed. You have a gene of maybe depression. It could be a shosho, once had depression, or maybe anxiety, and then you find yourself either as an adolescent, as a youth, being prone to now depression. Also, depression can be brought about by substance abuse, whereby addiction or rather substance abuse triggers or inafufua that sleeping gene of depression. Also, depression can be brought about by what I was mentioning. You've lost a loved one, you're going through the process of grieving, but you're now stuck at the depressive state. So those are just some of the things that can actually cause depression.
Okay.
Yes. So I can also now look at the symptoms, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Great. So some of the symptoms, and many of the times that we think that suicide or suicidal ideations is the biggest maybe symptom of depression, but we actually have quite a number. And suicide comes as hapo chini chini, but let's look at some of the symptoms of stress. So maybe you can pick someone to read for us.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
read for us.
Yes, please. Um, so what's the difference between stress versus depression? I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. So we start with stress symptoms. The first one is worry, anxiety, and nervousness, difficulty in sleeping, problems concentrating, a change in eating habits, mood swings, tension, headaches, and depression symptoms are feeling exhausted, lack of motivation or enthusiasm, isolation and withdrawal, problems regulating mood, loss of sleep or sleeping constantly, big increase or decrease in appetite, overwhelming sadness and hopelessness. Uh, this is continuous rumination and suicidal thoughts or ideations.
Good. Thank you very much. So let's focus more on the depression symptoms. And anytime that you find yourself or your loved one mentioning that their activities they once used to enjoy doing, maybe they loved playing football or going outdoors, but nowadays they find themselves not motivated enough to do that. That is one key symptom that someone could be actually getting into depression. Also, another key one is many of the times you find yourself being comfortable being alone. And at times, yes, there's that me time you want. Me time is very okay and very good. It's part of self-care. But you find Monday to Sunday, you just don't want to be with anyone. You feel that being alone is what is good. And at times it's just not maybe taking time to do something for yourself, but it's just that social isolation from everyone, the withdrawal. That is another key thing. Also, now that we were talking of symptoms or where can depression come from, things like mood. Someone can actually be having an underlying mood disorder, which maybe some other time we can talk about. You've probably heard of bipolar mood disorder, whereby it also has an aspect of depression in it. So actually, someone may be having or suffering from another mental health condition that is now triggering the depression. So it's good to also check on your moods. And also now the last one that I want to now, the second last big point is the aspect of feeling hopeless and helpless, whereby you now feel that there's no more hope, or rather there's nothing to look forward to. You want to wake up or rather kick those blankets out, but you're like, I don't feel a need of even living another day. And now, then the last one is now the suicidal thoughts or ideations. And at times, before you find yourself now into the suicidal thoughts and ideation, you have actually maybe gone through the other things, but you had probably not noticed, or you had also not noticed that from your loved one. So it's important to see these symptoms, and maybe you can help someone. And we are going to see how can you help someone who is going through this. So I hope the symptoms are clear.
Yeah, very clear. Wow, you're learning a lot. Thank you so much, Tabitha.
You're welcome.
If I allow me to ask a question on that,
Yes.
I have seen that there are so many. You have elaborated so well on those points about symptoms of depression and stress.
Mhm.
But how do you get to know it's, there are those people who it might be normal when
Yeah.
when maybe someone gets to change their moods, or maybe today, or maybe they don't get to do what they are used to do. So how do you get to differentiate that someone is acting normally, or someone is depressed? How do you get to realize? Do you look at time, a period of time? What do you look at?
Good. That's actually a very good question. What happens when it comes? There's that no kawaida mood change. Also,
Yeah.
there's that kawaida maybe increase in appetite or loss of appetite. Also, there's that moment you may find yourself feeling I'm not ready to face another day. But for depression, these symptoms, the ones that we have mentioned, have to be persistent for a minimum of 2 weeks. When you find yourself experiencing the same feelings for 2 weeks straight, that is enough to warrant you to go and seek better help. Kuna ile ya kukasirika, utakasirika leo ama mood imebadilika leo, but it's not going to be like that for the next 2 weeks. So one key thing about depression is when you find those symptoms are constant and persistent for a period of 2 weeks and above, and at times if you also have now imeendelea and you're not even getting any change, so we can say the duration is actually 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you say depression is the worst state of being stressed?
I may not say that, because stress, just like if we can look at this, let me go back to those symptoms again. Stress is when you are experiencing maybe something is not going right and the worry comes in. So for the stress is that you can actually employ some coping skills and you're able to maybe overcome it in a period of a week or even in the 2 weeks. But for depression, now that it's an illness, you may even try, you may find someone giving a statement and we're going to see what should you not tell someone who is going through depression. For stress, someone can tell you, snap out of it, Michelle. And maybe you'll employ the coping skills and tomorrow you'll be stress-free. But depression, for as much as you may try to even snap out of it, it's not something you can just wake up to and say, imeisha. You see?
Yeah.
So depression is an illness, but stress is just a phase in which maybe you're going through something. So depression, you cannot just snap out of it, pap. You need consistency to checking up on it. But stress, unaweza amka useme, bas wacha sasa nifanye something on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there like forms of depression? Like when you're tunasemanga HIV, there's a first stage, the second stage. Are there like those stages in depression?
So depression, actually, it may not be stages per se, but it could be the severity, whereby you can find that someone has maybe mild depression, then someone has clinical depression. Also now someone finds themselves maybe having severe depression. And even online, you can find some tools, some assessment tools that one can do, or when you go to a counselor or a professional, they can give you some tools to just assess. And then after scoring it, you can now see the levels. So for depression, it has various levels. In either mild, severe, just like I've mentioned, moderate, also now clinical. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Now,
Go ahead.
So madam, like you've said, depression is an illness.
Yes.
I've not understood like the causes of depression. Like for example, the way we say HIV, what causes HIV? It's maybe sexual intercourse without it comes as for depression. What are the causes and the symptoms?
Okay.
Yeah.
So causes of depression.
Yeah.
Depression, if I may look, let me first mention two main causes. Number one, it could be genetic. It could be caused by a genetic gene, whereby your family, or rather my family, has maybe a gene of mental illness. And this is where now it comes to stigma. You find that many people out there will stigmatize maybe familia kina Tabitha, watu wengi wako na depression. So actually, depression can be genetic. So one of the causes can be a genetic factor. A number two cause of depression, now that we're talking about it, it could also now be various triggers. Various triggers like substance abuse, whereby there are people who use the substance socially na wako sawa. But kuna mtu anaweza hiyo socially, but then they find themselves depressed or in a state of hopelessness, in a state of not being motivated to do anything, in a state of now getting into feeling suicidal and hopeless, just like we've mentioned. So another cause could be loss, whereby you've gone through multiple losses. It could even be loss of a relationship. Another cause could be social stresses, or rather social pressures, whereby there's a lot of comparison from your friends, from social media, and you find yourself unafufua your gene, that maybe a predisposed gene of the mental illness. Maybe also another cause could be something like loss of even a job or something that is precious. So those are just some of the causes. For depression, we may not, it's more of triggers, because my triggers could be different from someone else. So it's just knowing maybe what are some of the triggers that work for someone and that are different to someone else. I hope that is a little bit clear.
Yeah, it is 100%. Unless someone has a question.
someone is interesting if she can share with us again the symptoms of depression, ili tuweze ku screenshot.
Hiyo ni sawa. And then now, after mkipiga screenshot, I'll also now look at what should you do, what should you not do, and how can you support someone? How can you support a friend? How can you support a family member? How can you support a loved one, or even a neighbor who is going through depression? And we are going to look at that. So once the screenshot is done, you can do a thumbs up, nijue memaliza, so that I can share the next one.
Guys, thank you so much. You don't have to keep screenshotting. What we do is we have a recording. We are
Okay.
currently recording live, and so we'll be able to share this video with you after she's done speaking. So you do not have to worry. There's nothing you have missed, Tabitha, Susan, continue. Tunakubaptize, hii maneno umepi.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. Itakuja.
You know,
Asanteni. So
proceed,
let's look at
proceed.
how can you support someone? How can you support a loved one? And
Yeah.
one of the ways in which you can support a loved one with depression, the do's. The do's is one is actively listening to them. At times, there are people who are gifted with listening, some who are not. So it's good to know where you lie. And at times, if you find that you're not able to listen enough, feel free to refer them to professional help. Because at times, we want to be there for our friends, but saa zingine, you may also get exhausted. But referring them to a professional, wataweza kutembea na wao. Also, another do is help them find support. And I guess that I've mentioned on the first point. Then number 3 is remain patient. There's a lot of patience that is involved. Patience is very key when you're dealing with someone going through depression. And also it's important for you to learn about depression, just like we are doing today. And there are also many other sources out there that you can read, materials that you can download and just read. You can attend even forums whereby you can learn about this. It's very important. So what should you not do? Number 1, you should not take things personally. Remember, we have said that depression can also come with a change in moods, whereby maybe that day the person is feeling low and they may utter something to you and you feel like they don't want you. They may say, I don't want you to come to my house. I don't want you to call me. So don't take things personally. For as much as, yes, they may want some time, but when you realize that the withdrawal is too much, you should not take that very personal. It's not, si ati wanakuchukia, it's just a phase they are going through. Also, do not give unsolicited advice. Mara nyingi huko nje utapata watu wanapeana advice na hawajaulizwa, so do not. And also counseling is not advice giving. So you'll also find that professional help, si ati wanaenda kupatiwa advice, but they'll be able to go through it professionally. Also, do not try to fix them, because only Jesus can fix. So we are not quick fixers, so don't do that. And the last one, do not minimize or compare the experiences. At times we are tempted to give our own personal experiences, but at times just like I had mentioned, every depression or every person who is going through depression is unique. So tusijaribu ku minimize ama ku downplay what they are going or what they are mentioning. So I hope that is clear, Michelle.
Yeah. So, Doctor, someone is asking, what if you're the one who's going through the depression? How can you help yourself?
Okay. So number 1, how you can help yourself. One is try and pick. Try and pick what are some of your triggers. Ni nini unaweza sema kufanya ukue in that state. That is number 1. Number 2, you can look for a place in which you can get help. Now that we're talking, you could actually umejaribu hata kuambia familia, or they're like, no one is going to understand me. So you can reach out to a place. It could be a professional. At times you may find yourself feeling, I don't have maybe the enough funds to even pay for these services. So I'll also try and post a link where you can also get some of the available free services out here, because we have also professionals and organizations that are offering these services if you are not able to afford them. So do not stay and say that siwezi afford, so sitaweza kupata usaidizi. So one is looking for the help and also trying and tracing where the trigger could be.
Okay.
I hope I've answered it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how let me ask this question. This is when you support a loved one with depression, and you think the do's and the don'ts, which are really well elaborated, and we can see that. But my question is, allow me to divert kidogo on the issue of extroverts and introverts.
Yes.
Whereby somehow it's easier to get to For an extrovert, si ni huyu mtu hype sana. So sometimes for such people ni very easy to get to know, to share out their issues. But let's deal with an introvert who hajazoea to pour out issues zake kwa mtu, hajazoea kuongea. She's someone who just keeps her things to herself, and maybe the farthest she can go, maybe the family, the farthest she can go maybe. So how if maybe amepitia kitu yenye imemsumbua and she's really he is getting so hard to tell it out to people, what advice would you give to such person?
Okay, so one personality, just like you've mentioned, kuna various ways. Kuna ule atakuwa open to just talk about it, could be even to a friend or a loved one or family member. And just like you're mentioning, kuna ule anaweza kuwa na ugumu wa opening up. So some of the ways in which they can try and let out what is inside, it could be, what do they love doing? There are some people who are good writers maybe, so they can try and write the feelings somewhere. Also, if you're an introvert and you're not able to talk it out, maybe you have that one person. And at times you may not even have that one person. So when you don't have that one person, that's when you're encouraged to even just take that step. You know, counseling at times, and we are working on normalizing. And even this is just part of the process, normalizing that it's okay to look for professional help, because the professional counselor will take you through. Nata kama wewe ni introvert, utajipata bado ukiongea. Kuna hizo skills and techniques that we are equipped with. So just taking that leap of faith, or rather courage, to just look for a place, a safe space where you can just open up. I don't know if I'm making some sense.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Thank you. There is someone hapa amesema kwa chat that she thinks that she has time because anaweza kaa the full day without food, without water, after somebody surprise her with bad news, and when she keeps it, she starts losing weight daily, no appetite maybe. So can she consider herself someone who's depressed?
Okay, what we need to be very careful, even as we go through this session, is we need to work on self-diagnose. Unajua kuna ile unaweza sema, hey, I guess hizo symptoms karibu zote naona kama ni lie. So we need also to be we can now, the symptoms, yes, unaweza jipata uko na kama hizo, but another step further is an assessment. An assessment is what is important, because when you go to an assessment, itakuwa na a better criteria of knowing maybe this is where you are at. So Claire, you necessarily don't have to be depressed, but you can also now talk to someone who will just try and explore what is happening, just like you're mentioning, and then naweza jua zaidi. Yeah. Yeah. And I like what Catherine is saying. Allow me to just read. I was on the chat. Yeah, I find it easy to journal as a way of letting out emotion. That is actually very good. If you love writing, journaling comes in handy. And at times you may not be a good journalist, or rather a person who loves journaling, but you can take a piece of paper, write how you're feeling, then just tear that paper, and no one is going to be able to see it. So kama unaona kama you're not able to just let it out. At times also there are people who are good in crying. So if at times unaweza kuwa na overwhelmed emotions and you want to cry, I normally say it's very okay to cry. So you can just cry, and then now unasikia imetoka kidogo. So always just looking for a place to just vent, or rather let out that emotion that is within, ni muhimu sana. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
maybe yeah, and then now you can also now open the floor to some questions.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah, so actually it's my second last. Sorry, that one I had already shared it. So I want to look at one last thing on what we have mentioned today, and how to talk to, or rather how to talk with depressed people, someone who is going through depression. And I guess we have said how you can help them, but one easy way or some key 6 things that can be easy. Number one is maybe someone can read. I don't want to just be the one who is speaking. So someone can read, sijui kama ataona, but I can zoom it kidogo. So what can you do?
So who will read it first? Maybe Claire. I request Claire if she can be able to read that for us. Claire ni kama haiwezi kwa nini?
Okay.
Okay, so allow me just to read because of nini.
Which one, please? Yeah. Which
Oh,
one?
you here hii yenye ameweka kwa nini?
Ameshare screen.
Oh, number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen not to hear. But ile ingine ni ndogo, I can't read it.
Okay, soma tu hizo ziko kubwa, hizo ndogo nita elaborate.
Listen not to hear. Empathy. Extend help.
Yeah.
Acceptance and honesty. Alternate perspective. The other one is be there.
Good. So this is how you can actually talk to someone. At times we are quick to just hear, but we don't listen. So it's important to just be a good listener. And at times you don't even have to say anything. You don't have to say ati nakuelewa or I understand, because you may not actually understand what this other person is going, but just giving them a listening ear, asking a simple question like, how are you feeling today? That is actually enough. So listening is very important. Also empathy. At times we sympathize with people, which is dangerous, because ukisympathize utaweza kumsaidia. But when you empathize, you're actually just able to get into their world, and then you're able to come out. So just being there to understand without forming any judgment or maybe just unawakandamiza. Now that they have mentioned they were suicidal and you feel like, now this is a secret we can keep. When someone is going through depression, suicidal ideations are not things or other secrets we need to keep, but we need to share that with someone who is trusted, so that they can also get the required help. Because as zingine, yes, they may say, I don't want you to say it out, but then tomorrow you find that they are no longer there, and we have probably even lost loved ones or even neighbors from even a statement they posted on social media, but no one took time to just extend that help. So number 3, we need to extend the help. Also number 4, we need to acceptance and honesty. Being honest about how we feel to people who matter is important. And also, for as much as saa zingine inakuwa ngumu kutaka receive the help, ni vizuri accept. Also giving perspectives or rather various ways in which someone can get another view of what they are going through. And finally being there. So it's important to just be there for someone. Hata kama hautaweza kukua hapo in everything, you can refer them to a place in which they can get the necessary help. Yeah, so that was what I had for today, but I'm free to maybe take a few and then, yeah.
Yeah. Dr.
Yeah.
There's a question here. What happens to the brain during depression?
That may not really be in my line, but unless I do more research on that, since it's also a mental illness, there's a part of us that is in a change, like things like insight, the way you see or view a scenario or a situation is different. So maybe the part of the brain, but that one I may not really look at the size, I may not be vast about that, but part moja kubwa about our thinking, which is now the psychological well-being, is insight. When someone is going through depression, at times unapata that maybe other people may think that you need help or assistance, but because of what you're going through, you may actually not see a need for it. So insight or that aspect of you being able to reach out for something inakuwa affected. So on the part of the brain, maybe I need to do more research on that and maybe I'll get back to you, but insight is part of the psychological effect that is normally affected when one is going through a mental illness.
Okay. There's a question here. How do you approach from dairy? How do you approach someone who is aggressive but seriously needs help?
Maybe what like aggressiveness, like in what way? Inaweza kuwa verbal, and what necessarily what are they aggressive about? Maybe Derry can elaborate kidogo on that. Then I'll be able to answer. Yep.
He says in any way.
Okay, so at times aggressiveness can come from various, it doesn't actually just have to be on depression. Inaweza kuwa mtu ako aggressive because of something else, and they find the aggressiveness can now go to an extent of even breaking things, being abusive, verbal aggressiveness, also physical. So on that point, hapo ndio unaweza jua vile anaweza pata usaidizi, either looking for maybe someone to come to them, or looking for also other loved ones who can help calm them down, and then now they can go to look for the necessary help. So first is to ensure that the person is safe. Hata kama ako aggressive, tumia whatever is around them to harm themselves or harm another person. Yeah.
Okay. And there's also another question hapa ameuliza if hormonal imbalance is another sign of depression.
Hormonal imbalance inaweza kuwa two part of most of us just have the hormonal imbalance, so it doesn't have to be a sign of depression. However, now what I was mentioning of mood, you can have an underlying mood disorder or a condition that is actually triggering now the changes, there is an oscillation of the moods. So saa zingine kama uko na mood problem, you may find that there are days you are extremely happy, there are days you're extremely low, and that needs now more assessment to know labda unaweza kuwa unapitia a mood problem that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay, sorry.
Some good adapting habits to stress, so that you can avoid getting depressed.
So some coping skills for stress. One is self-care. And self-care, this involves you taking some time for yourself. It could be doing things that you love doing, things that are healthy. So you can also take walks, and a walk that is just there. A walk that is just ufikiri mambo nyingi, ufikiri shule, ufikiri kazi, ufikiri kuna vitu unapaswa kulipa. So walks are also doing some activities, and at times we don't have even to use money in looking for these leisure activities. If you have a river near you, you can go to a river, just throw even those two stones, or just listen to some cool breeze. There are people, good coping can be music, but also be aware that there are some music that can be a trigger to some of the low mood. So it's important to even choose what kind of music are you listening to. There are people who have maybe movies, but rather just doing something that you enjoy doing, and also watching out for that thing that you're wanting to do is equipping a trigger to something. So those are just some coping skills, but my highlight will be self-care, taking care of yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Catherine asks, how do you differentiate between a person who is depressed and one with a personality disorder?
Personality disorders is another mental health condition, and there are various personality disorders. There are so many. So someone actually can be having a personality disorder, and then on top of the personality disorder, they have depression. Those that we call comorbid conditions, whereby you have more than one mental health issue in one. Then you gonna like kama mbili. So I may not really have a clear line how you can differentiate, but it's important for the person to know like akona hii personality disorder, and also on top of it they have depression, or this personality disorder has also symptoms of like what we have mentioned. So mara nyingi unaweza ona kuna kitu iko off with the person. So it's important for them to know the personality disorder gani they are maybe going through, and then now that could be just an addition to also depression. I guess I've yes. But maybe like one is the withdrawal someone who is going through depression and they are withdrawn may find themselves maybe having a personality disorder like antisocial personality disorder, whereby they do not want to be with anyone. So unaweza kuwa the antisocial personality disorder is bringing about the depression. So that's just one of the examples. So I hope that question has been answered.
Catherine, is it okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So Derry asks, a problem with doing something you love doing. When into depression, a lot of people lose interest in some of the things they love doing a lot. What should they do?
Good. And that one is actually one of the biggest sign of doing that. You actually maybe not be in depression per se, but inaweza kuwa unaingia. So when you start realizing that the things you once used to enjoy doing, you no longer have the interest in it, it's important to retrieve and ask yourself, what is maybe bringing about this? Inaweza kuwa labda it was a comment that was made in that activity that you enjoy doing, na ikakupatia even an esteem problem, and now the esteem problem is now causing you to even lose interest. So actually it could be the frustration that you experience that is making you not want to go to that activity. So it's important to just ask yourself, maybe what is pushing me, or rather what is making me feel the way I'm feeling. So that is a question that someone can ask themselves. What is maybe bringing about this feeling?
Yeah. Okay.
Rhea has her hand up, so I can see your hand, Rhea.
Go ahead.
Yes. Ask, Ray. Ask your question. If you are not able to ask, you can always type, but if you can always switch on your microphone and you can ask. Let me see if I can prompt her to ask her question again. Where is she? I think she got lost in midway. Okay, let me try and find, I think oh yeah, there she is. She's trying to connect to her microphone. I think she should be able to now. Hi, Ray, hi, unmute yourself. If you can, unmute yourself and ask your question. All right, so as Ray does that, Michelle and Elizabeth, you can continue.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh gosh.
Ray, your internet is having a bit of an issue. Yes, now I can hear you.
Yeah, it's doing staccato. So
Yeah. As the
okay.
fault of using MBs,
I
ask your
wanted to
question.
say I have dealt with a depressed person before. My dad had extreme depression.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I knew him as a very conservative person, and so it was very hard for us to define the condition. In fact, we thought maybe it's because he was in he would say often that his family members died a long time ago. His parents left him, so there's no need of him being alive. I mean, he doesn't have anyone, but he has brothers and sisters who are alive. So I didn't understand what that was about. And then just before he died, one day I was called by my siblings because we were very tight, and they told me, oh my God, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh my God. I thought it's a cat.
You thought it was a spider? All
A
right.
cat.
Ask away.
So he said, I asked him what's wrong. He said they're refusing to let me in, and I asked him who are they, and he could not say. He just kept saying they're refusing to let me in, and then 2 days later he's dead. So I've never like really forgiven myself for not being there that day. But I was really sick. I was passing out 5 to 10 times in a day. So I wasn't in a position to take him to hospital. So when he died that day, I was like, this is my fault. If I went to the hospital, he wouldn't have died. So it's been something I've been carrying with me for a long time, and it gives me sleepless nights. And I've seen that my brother has gotten into it now, and he's really drinking himself silly because of this. And every time he's drunk, he brings up my dad in the conversation.
Yeah.
So I really don't know if I all those symptoms that were there, I'm facing them every day. Sometimes I think maybe I'm not sick, maybe I'm just depressed, because I've had those suicidal thoughts. I've had them recently, and I'd literally feel my spirit leaving my body. So I honestly don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to deal with that. Yeah.
So yeah, so thank you very much for even opening up and just sharing that experience, a very personal experience. Uh, and that has also brought about something on, just like what you're mentioning. Dad kept talking about, rather referring to his childhood. Also, another cause could be maybe some traumatic childhood experiences that can also trigger that. But also for yourself, as you're working on how can you cope and how can you go through the process. Uh, it's important to go through the process of grief and reaching out, just like you began here today about sharing how you're experiencing or how you're feeling. You can also now take that other step in just talking to someone whereby you're going to explore, you're going to go through the entire process, and then you can also now get to also understand yourself better. Just like you're mentioning, unaona kama unaweza kuwa with the symptoms, but you can take another step of just talking to someone. And feel free to also reach out to me even after this. We can discuss more on this. Yeah.
Uh,
So,
we have a comment here from Director Kamau.
okay.
First, I'd like to, to welcome all the LV Season 3 contestants to this session. Thank you for coming. So Mwaura Kamau says, true, the introspection is very important, and you will only know what has changed if you are in touch with yourself and really self-aware and do reflect. Another question from David here. Can those people be able to take a step back and look at where they are headed, or should they do so with some external help? And if external help is required, what they just can't find the strength to talk it out?
So yeah. So can I
We have,
ask? Yeah. I'm also
okay.
yeah.
Acha nisome ingine.
Yeah.
Danny asks, can you know someone has a social anxiety disorder, and how can someone be helped with this sad thing?
Okay. So on what Derry has mentioned, it's important to just take a step back at times and try and evaluate what you could be experiencing. And also at times it's important. This is where we say it's okay not to be okay. Just telling yourself that constantly. It's okay when I'm not okay. And it's okay to even just look for that help. I may not have the strength now, but me just reaching out to proper help, because you may try and reach out to a friend, alafu ikwe your friend is having also a bad day and they are not able to listen, just like we mentioned. So you'll be like, I tried reaching out, hakunisikiza, I'm not going to do it again. But when you look for the proper help from a professional, if they're not able to help you, they will refer you to another source of help. So just taking that step, that courage step to just reach out to that professional who will lead you to a place where you can get the necessary help. That's what I can mention. Then on the social anxiety disorder, there are actually various symptoms that are there. There are so many, I may not be able to mention all of them, but
Yeah.
when you find yourself having constant phobias of being in public places, you're now experiencing attacks, or rather panic attacks, anytime you're in a social environment or a social space. Those are just some of the things that can help you know that unaweza kuwa labda na the social anxiety disorder. But kuna symptoms nyingi kama around 6 that someone can know if they're experiencing that. I guess I'm trying to make some sense there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me.
They asked, oh, sorry. They also asked, I just thought how hard they could be literally blind to reality at times. So what can they do? Plus hawapendi kuongea shida zao, especially men. So they're trying to say that mostly men are affected with this thing about depression because they cannot speak out their problems
Yeah.
because of ego, and some of them they don't like crying at all. So people say ukilia na wewe ni mwanaume, that society thing. So
Yeah.
especially how can we help them with
So
it?
how you can help, how you can help such a person, and I'm glad that this is coming out, especially about, like, for the men. At times it becomes hard to even talk out your issue, and at times we find that nikizungumza watu watanibeba aje. I'm also inviting all the men every Saturday at 8 p.m. I am not a man, but there is a kikao that happens for men on Facebook. You'll just go to Destiny Shapers mentorship program. You'll find every day at 8 to 9. You can just listen in and hear men just talk out these issues, talk about depression. Even you're welcome to just listen in, and maybe from that, kama haupendi kuongea, you listen to other people and you may get an insight from there, or you may even be prompted to feel like, oh, if other men are going through this, siko peke yangu. So every day
Yeah.
at 8 p.m. kuna hiyo kikao cha wanaume, cha men, where you're welcome to just tune in and listen to that.
Actually, I am informed, Tabitha, that one of the members here has a baby sister who your husband mentored for a very long time, and where she
Wow,
is right now, she
good.
attributes to your husband. Yeah.
Hitaji kutuambia. That is very nice. I'm humble to kisha hizo salamu. It's a
Eh,
small, yeah,
Fikisha is also alarm. It's a small world. Yeah.
yes.
Elizabeth, you were saying something.
Oh yeah, nilikuwa nangoja afikishe salamu.
Salamu nitafikisha. My husband will get those salamus, and I'm glad. She should write to me aniambie ni nani, ili nikifikisha salamu at least I can also mention who it was.
Wataandike hapo chini. They know themselves. Write hapo chini kwa comment section. If you want to write to her privately, there's that option on the comment section as well.
Sure.
Elizabeth.
Okay, so my question is, we have most of the time when we handle depression, we get to handle it. How do I call it? Things that affect us in the outside world.
Yes.
But I'm looking at these parts of the relationship, the parent-child relationship, and unajua si kila mtu ameweza ku get into that family where you have this good interaction with your dad or your mom, or even with the both of them. And it might be actually the depression itself imeanza from family, from unajua tunasema charity begins at home. So my question is, how can the relationship between a parent and a child lead to depression, and how what advice would you give to such?
Okay, that's actually a very good question, and it's happening, and it's affecting many of us and many individuals out there, whereby you can even go out or in your circle of friends and you hear them talking about how they have been communicating with their parents or their siblings in that free space in their family. But when you look at yourself, you're like, no one talks to anyone at home.
Exactly.
Maybe when I even try something, I'm always put down, or I'm never given a space to just talk about what I'm going through. So yes, families are, and actually someone may be going through these aspects as we are talking about today, even at home. So what can this person do? Number one is not also putting a lot of pressure on themselves that my family is not the same as other people's, but also now with the awareness that getting, and maybe you know someone who is going through this, connecting them to safe space whereby they can vent out, because anaweza kuwa nyumbani anakuwa you're suffocated with all what they are going through and they're not able to voice out. When they get a safe space, they are going to be able to talk about these issues. They are going to understand themselves, and in return, they're even probably going to create more awareness to the family in a good way. Now, wataona, okay, wow, also maybe to reach out, or we can even look for this help. So the key point there is looking for a safe space to take care of yourself. Yes.
Okay. And now that umeguzilia hiyo point the whole lot of family and such,
Yes.
let's tell us more about social. Kuna hii pia ya social class related to depression, whereby kuna hawa rich people mostly, actually it might help to hawa watu, unaona the way they kuna kwanga na first class. I know we've heard of such. So yeah, that might also, your pressure, most especially maybe if we look at people who are in high school, place wamefungiwa in a containment where you don't go out, you just with your friends, and then kuna hizo things zenye hukua, kuna zile za watu wametoka Nairobi for those who've been high school, and kuna hawa watu wengine. So how do you advise such a girl, a young man who amepatia such?
Wow. On that one, I guess the clear one that comes straight to my mind is self-acceptance. Na mara nyingi, at times wonder, what am I really accepting? I don't have a lot. When I compare myself on a scale with what my friends have, or what my classmates have, or what my society has, mimi hata sioni kama nina feature anywhere. But self-acceptance is the first key thing. When you accept yourself, one, you'll accept yourself with the good things that you come with, and also the shortcomings that you have. And then you also have an avenue of knowing that I'm not where I want to be, or these other people, wale wanasema wako na class wako, but maybe I plan to do 1, 2, 3 about it. So one, ukiji-accept pia, you now also go ahead and start seeing good things about yourself. Inaweza kuwa, yes, you may not have the money or the flashy things, but there's still good things about it. And at times, hata kama ni moja, that is actually important, even just one thing. So looking for even one thing that is important and you can feel proud of yourself for, running with it. And at times the social pressure is too much. It could be from social media, it could be from posts that people have, but at times also, if something is putting your necessary pressure, kama kuna pages unafollow na zinakupatia pressure, mimi wanasema it's important to unfollow them. Usikubali kupewa pressure na mtu. So follow those things, unfollow those pages. Kama una feel haujafika hapo, usijipatie pressure na pace haujafika bado. So accept yourself and see good things about you. Yeah.
Okay, I think that is very important. Your story in self-acceptance, it's really very important. And I am really seeing so many questions coming, which is very, very nice. Hata kama maybe so let me ask this question.
Ngoja. Yani Michelle na Elizabeth, you are the host na hata hamwezi washa kamera.
Rodrigo, kuna ile
Washeni hizo vitu. We cannot be, no, we must see the hosts. Washa hiyo. Mutawasha hiyo, washeni. How? Nimewa text hamjasikia, washeni hiyo kitu. Washa hiyo kamera bwana. Imagine Tabitha, I'm texting these individuals na hawawashi kamera.
What?
Wawashe sasa, washeni.
wacha basi niulize swali kwa chat and then I'll answer. Okay, sawa. So there is this question. Wacha tu nipande kidogo because there is one nimeona haijajibiwa. Evelyn asked, when going through depression, at what point do you know you need help? Doctor, if you can
Yeah.
answer
So
for us.
you're going through depression at what point? At the point that you feel that I am not okay. At the point that you feel that kuna vile nilikuwa nasikia jana na saizi feel kama I'm feeling the same. So when you start feeling like there's something different about you, that is enough reason to look for the help. So you don't have to wait for you to see all the symptoms, but when you just feel like about Miss Yelevi, that can warrant you to just go ahead and look for the help. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Then there's someone else to ask. Allow me to just ask Karaka so that we can be able to handle all of them.
Washa kamera, wacha kucheza chini. Washa hiyo kamera. Washa
Rodrigo.
kamera. You cannot be
Acha,
host
unahitaji kwa
hatuwaoni.
chat. So
Washa hiyo kamera.
itabidi.
Hakuna shida. Washa hiyo kamera. We must see you.
Okay, then let me ask this question because then you can be answering us.
Elizabeth uliza zote alafu daktari ata-answer.
Is that okay? Naweza uliza zote, then you can be able to
Go
answer.
ahead. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So ameuliza, can young children suffer from depression, like maybe say 4 to 5 years? Then let me see another one. Grace says, how does one ensure they remain conscious in matters of body shaming and cyberbullying without coming out as holier than thou or goody or Mr. or Miss Perfect? That is a very good question. Then maybe if I can just read a comment here, Mesema, from observation, and even this is by Rekamau, within the halls of therapy, almost everyone who undergoes depression suffers from one major cause of feeling that they are not enough, whether it is in material wealth, being accepted by a group, and in many other forms. I think you're na nini kuhusu hii kutokuwa. And then he says, while depression may seem a huge topic, the human brain is also interesting in how simplistic it approaches things. A solution can be in a simple solution of starting to believe that they are enough, always, everywhere, and anyhow. So maybe we can start by answering here, children, if children can be able to nini.
Yes, children can also go through depression. And kuna vile you can know maybe they are going through something that they did not have. You find them going back to behaviors they had stopped doing. Wapata wanarudia, unapata they are clingy, they don't want to be with people. So yes, a child can also go through depression. Also on the issue of body shaming and cyberbullying, it's important for when you find that constantly people are putting you down, mainly about your looks, because of how you look. That is also a warning sign that they're just looking down upon you about something. So with that, you may not really minimize what other people will say, but now you go ahead and ask yourself, how do you feel? Yes, the other people are feeling this way about you, but what do you feel about yourself? Is what they're saying about getting into you to a point of umeacha pia kujibelieve on vile unajisikiza. So one is, what do you say about yourself? And then also working on how you are feeling about you. I guess kulikuwa na ingine. And then now the point of what Kamau has mentioned about, yes, most of us, everyone who undergoes depression suffers from one major cause of feeling they are not enough. Yes, and that the bit of also now feeling I don't have any good to offer. And it could be being brought about by the hopelessness and helplessness. So yourself feeling that. And it could affect various spheres of our life, socially, emotionally, materially, just like you're mentioning, but it could be inaweza kuwa inaletwa sana sana na the aspect of feeling the helplessness and
Yeah. Tabitha, please tell these men not to be afraid to cry. They should share their problems.
yeah, and I guess it's okay to talk. Yes, society
Yes.
inasiongea, but the more quiet, the more we are seeing ills in our society, and that is why even child, so that men can have a platform to just listen to other fellow men and just talk, wakuwe na kaudaku kao ili waweze so tumekaribisha
kusema ni umama.
so
Let me tell you, men don't cry. It is impossible for an African man to cry. Bwana.
Rodrigo,
Men don't cry.
It is impossible for an African man to cry.
you should learn how to.
No, thank
We
you.
can't unlearn that.
No, thank you. That is something we can't unlearn as men. Hey, Tabitha, tell us, as a psychologist, these things, you cannot fight with culture. Of course, I know, of course, Tabitha, you only have 5 minutes left before we let you go. But, Bwana, men, we cannot unlearn that thing, Bwana. We don't cry.
You should learn.
No, ask any man here. How many men are here, please? Lex, you are here. Do you cry?
Yes.
Lex, Lex, Derry, I see all of you here. Which men are here? Men, do you cry?
JR crying.
We don't.
Crying for who?
Crying for who? What time? Since when?
Since when, bwana?
Kuna kitu nimependa and maybe daktari anaweza guzilia kidogo about that. Wenye Rodrigo kwanza acha nitumie wadi yake, ameanza na African men. And I think such okay, we can understand ni kitu imekuwa, but I think it's high time we get to change that.
Yeah.
But I think it's high time ikuwe changed kwa sababu unaweza ona hata ukifanya research most men ni wao wanakuwa depressed.
Wanakufa ovyo ovyo, suicidal, and they don't want to cry.
Unaona kijana amekuwa akicheka tu hivyo kidogo kidogo amepata shida.
In fact, with that being said, let me welcome my baby sister from Poland. Grace, say something. Have you ever seen your big brother cry? Shay.
Hi guys.
Hello.
No, I've never seen my brother cry ever, and it's quite sad because this is a topic that affects him.
Yeah.
So I wish he would open up and be more emotional. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very important. Hapa ni African men.
Tabitha, why don't African men cry?
From a professional point of view, that's actually just a stereotype that we all need to change. That it's actually okay. It's okay to cry, and at times you may not even necessarily shed the physical tears, but you can cry in talking to someone, finding a safe space in which you talk about those things that you're not able to talk to. Yes, mara nyingi tunasema ka ngumu kama mwanaume, but I may not, but I've listened to men who have talked about it's okay to share with someone else. And now we are also finding men trying to embrace even. So you may not cry to your friend or your wife or your girlfriend, but look for professional help where you're going to be able to just explore those issues that you're hidden within yourself.
In fact, I like what Gladwell has said. Machozi ya wanaume huenda kwa tumbo. Thank you.
Shindwe.
No, I think you umeignore ya nani.
Gladwell, barikiwa sana.
I think I don't think PK is amesema mi hulia and I am a man.
Thank you.
It's alright.
Hakuna shida.
It's very emotional.
No problem.
Wewe PK apewe mic aongee tusikie. Haya analianga aje?
PK ambia hawa watu. They don't know.
I think, okay, let me, yes, talk, PK, talk. Amenyamaza. As we're trying to get him, of course, Daktari, thank you so much. I know we want to ask you so many questions, but lazima pia uende mahali because of other engagements.
Yeah.
Yes, because of other engagements. I know you have to conclude. So what would be that final thing? I don't know. Michelle and Elizabeth, do you guys have any more questions before I continue?
Yeah, please, the last one maybe from my side. Apart from dealing with people, listening to people who are depressed and such, is there can depression be treated medically?
Elizabeth, hatukusikii.
Oh, so I don't know. Mnanisikia sahi?
Yeah, clearly.
So my question is, apart from now listening to people and counseling them, is there like medicine yenye unapeanga mtu hivi unasema hii ni cause ya kuwa depressed or something like that?
Actually, I was to give that as my parting shot. The beauty about depression is that it is treatable, very treatable. Myself as a psychologist, I may not be able to prescribe, but I can refer you to the psychiatrist who can give, depending on now the mahali ataona, or rather the assessment, and it's very treatable. And with adherence to medication, it gets to a point that someone is weaned off all the treatment na unaweza kukaa bila medication. However, pia not all levels of depression have to be on medication, but therapy alone actually is enough treatment for you. So yes, it's very treatable. Kuna treatment, medication, na pia kuna wale wanaenda through therapy, and both of them, they're actually equally important. So yes, it's very treatable. That's the beauty about depression.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, any question?
No, I don't have questions. All I can say is thank you to Tabitha, Susan. Thank you for doing this session. You have done it well. You have elaborated everything clear to everyone. Thank you so much. You are more than. And we will look forward to working with you.
So mine is also to appreciate even the organizers for this opportunity and even having and giving me also a listening ear. Without you guys, that could share what I've shared. So until next time, asanteni sana.
Wait, my number is 07226932073498015607.
Nilikuwa nataka kuintroduce Mutashi, ngoja kidogo. Tabitha, Susan, we have Helen Mutali, of course, in the house. If you don't know Helen, of course you know Helen Mutali. Everybody knows Helen Mutali. Yeah, so Mutali is here, and she's a very big fan of yours. So alisema atajoin hii session. Aya, sasa Mutashi, karibu sasa. Sasa.
Chocha, unanichocha? It's so nice to meet you. Lazima nipatiane namba ndugu zangu. Connection nani? Network. Lazima tuconnectingi na watu nani hata pia mimi nikuwe nimerub shoulders.
Leo umetukujia na vocabulary gani?
Ngoja amalize hata kujiintroduce, hata mjangoja amalize.
Hata sijaanza kujiintroduce. I'm not introduce myself.
Tabitha, meet Helen before we release you.
Yes. My name is Helen Olivia Akoto Molo Nyakach. Makine na kawuto tadbongo therefore.
Okay. Wow.
Mtawali. Sasa hapo ndio unaweza kumalizia na mtawali. We really appreciate. I really appreciate. Yani, Rodrigo, you are the one who's supposed to know my 7 numbers, bwana. Hao watu sijui unawatoanga wapi, lakini God akubless you sana. God bless ministry yako, man.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. I know I didn't meet you by mistake. It's just God ordained, divine connection. This is called divine connection.
Hallelujah.
My late brother suffered depression. My late brother suffered depression too, so I know what it is like. It's no joke. The hardest thing to treat is your mind. So if people knew how to stabilize the state of mind, oh my gosh, they would know how to sort themselves out halfway. You know, so when you talk about such, I know it's not easy. And sometimes people don't even know until maybe you see one day an SMS ameandikia rafiki yake, I'm going to commit suicide today. And unfortunately the answer would be siwende, tuende tu tukule nyama choma siku ile umekufa. Imagine, which is very weird because people who have, imagine, at that way that person ataogopa alafu aseme mi ndio nikufe sikufi. Anyway, so it's not easy to actually go through the right state of mind. So when you're sane, you need to just thank God. Be somewhere and thank God. Lord, I woke up today in the right state of mind. I thank you. Today, I talked to someone and made sense, because when depression started hitting my brother, we would talk, and the guy is talking 1920. Yani vitu zilifanyika 1920. So you think he's going to respond to your answer, but he responds quickly to something that happened 10, 15 years ago. So for me, I want to say thank you for spending your time to come here and talk to some of the people who I know might be excited, might be depressed. Some people around us here have gone through so much that they're still smiling. They're with us at AOV. Wasewa AOV, hoy. Imagine. And they are still here. So we want to thank God for people like you. Yeah. We thank God for people like you who can actually talk to us and let us know that sometimes some of these things require an expert. Sometimes it's normal. Sometimes it's God. Yeah.
That's very true.
Thank
Tabitha,
you.
I'd want to say that Helen, of course, is the visionary behind Africa Online Vocalist, which is an online competition that seeks to celebrate the African culture and everything that is African with regards to performing arts. And so, with the way you have your organization that is about mentorship, let me see if I can read this here. Of course, Tabitha says, thank you all so much. Follow Destiny Shapers organization on Facebook. You'll see more of what we do. So Destiny Shapers mtawali organization au ni wase wenye tunafaa kufikia sasa, ndio ile denye AOV tuna feel tuko nini kidogo. Yeah. Ndio ile tuna feel tuko nini kidogo. Right. So before of course tuachilie Tabitha, I know Sam is a guest of Tabitha. So Sam, if you're with us, you can say hi. And strangely, by the way, nimeambiwa na Michelle Midigo na Elizabeth Mwaura, they don't want to end the show fast. They want to discuss why men don't cry. Na hiyo Mutawali atatuambia now that she's here. Mutawali, us men, we don't cry, but before
the last time I checked, I was a woman. Sasa when did I become a man? Anyway.
Sasa si wewe ni mama ya vijana wengi.
Ama ni kwa sababu wakati why me Lord, what can I? Ama ni kwa sababu naweza kuimba na bass. Testosterone iko kwa mwili hapo.
Exactly. Sasa before tuachilie Tabitha, Sam, if you're here, say hi to us if you're here. Can you hear us, Sam?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clearly. Good evening, everyone.
Sam, good evening, man. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm Sam from Nanyuki, a fellowship with Tabitha at Mount Kenya Baptist Church. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, so introduce yourself, Kidogo, say hi to us, and then
all right.
We know you are a guest of Nani, hata kama ulikuwa unajificha underground, we know.
All right, yeah. My name is Sam or Samuel Wambugu. Fellowship with
Sam, weka picha tuone. We might meet you in the street bwana. Ama we might think that you are an old man, kumbe ni mtu bado anatafuta bibi. Na wako wengi hapa sana. Weka tu picha nani tukuone.
Ama anaweza kuwa relative wa Duncan Wambugu ule wa KU, huwezi jua.
Yeah, my name is Sam. A fellowship with Tabitha.
Ama anaweza kuwa na mke na watoto. Watu wakatazwe kwenda huko.
Yes, I'm married. Yes, I'm married with a beautiful wife and one child. I just got married. I think the same time.
Relax, man. Relax. Ease, Joe.
So I'm a born again Christian, and I'm glad to be here.
All right. So thank you so much, Tabitha, Susan, of course, and thank you so much, Sam. We are going to let you guys go because we know you have another engagement you're going to, Susan. So thank you very much again from JR Entertainment, and thank you so much for being here with us. Yes, so as Tabitha, thank you so much, Tabitha. As Tabitha leaves, Michelle, ni nini hiyo unasema wanaume atuliangi just for the next 20 minutes?
What's the problem? Why are you not crying?
Excuse me. Our African culture does not teach us as men to cry. We are not.
Yes,
The
it
only
does not
time we are
allow
allowed
us.
to cry as men is when we are singing Mukangala ama hii mwingine inaitwa kwa nini? Hiyo ama ukikimbizwa na loni. Hiyo. That is the only time we cry, Michelle na Elizabeth. Sema.
Ona wanaume wengi ndo wanakufa na depression. Na shida yao ni gani? Hawasemi.
I know.
Their problems.
Kwanza kuna huyu ameharibu maneno hapa kwa chat. My goodness. Ati mwanaume mwenye analia avalishe kamisi. My God. This African culture is killing people.
How do you cry?
Why do you imagine?
Wanaume wazungu ndio wanalianga. Wanaume wazungu ndio wanalianga.
And you get to see most of the time wanaweza kunini kuhandle hizi vitu. African men wenye wanajifanya hii masculinity ni wao.
Nani anaweza handle things? There is no, and this I'm saying with all fear, the African man is stronger than any man I know in this earth. We can kill lions with our bare hands.
No, that is physically. But mentally and emotionally, I think African men are the weakest.
Wait. Mbaire is saying something very important, but I will listen to Mbaire.
Mbaire sema. Wacha usikie vile utapeleka huko na mbio na Mbaire. Mbaire washa mic usitutishe.
Hey.
Hi Mbaire sema. Poa sana.
Well, niko careful nisi-engage kwa hii conversation kwa sababu najua inakwanga one of the conversation inaweza get distasteful.
Okay. Hapa usijali, hapa hakuna mtu atakacho. Wewe sema.
Objective unaweza kufinika watu wameanza because kwa sababu mimi personally mimi najua yangu nitakach kwa sababu ya hii conversation, yeah, because I feel kwa kila kitu tunakosanga objectivity. For instance, hii story nakumbuka ilianza na kwa society yetu allow for men to express themselves. Now who said crying is the only form of expression?
Yeah.
It could be a sit down where a man is actually opening up na anasema napitia magumu, and I know as an African man napaswa, mwanaume ni kukaa ngumu kuma hivyo. So how about tuache kukua subjective kusema mwanaume aliangi, but actually can we make our safe spaces, our spaces safe enough for a man, whether ni ukulina as he feel like ana kujustify nimetoka kamu, because ka venye mtu alisema ni ukweli, men statistically unfortunately unakuta hawa ndio wanakuwa victims wa depression haraka sana kwa sababu hawana hizo avenues to make the world so obvious that a woman can express, whether in tears, whether in ranting, whether ni hii quote in quote wase wanasemanga she's overreacting or she's crazy, and ndio maana ina getting distasteful kwa sababu ni subjective. It is subjective that way. So I think as we discuss this topic, why men don't cry, let's have what's our objective. Is it about the crying, the literal crying, or is it about the expression and that we've not made our spaces safe enough for men to express themselves without judgment, without being stereotyped? I think hivyo ndizo naweza sema.
Thank you. Ngoja, ni sawa. Thank you so much. Ngoja, Princess Yure ako hapa. Princess, washa your microphone. Ngoja, tujue ukweli leo. Hi, yes. Princess, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Unaweza date mwanaume analia? Mwanaume analianga wewe unaweza date?
Hapana.
Na sasa Aya, Roger, thank you very much. Eve Anya, how are you? Eve, washa your microphone ni kuonyesha watu hapa mnasema nini. Eve, washa your microphone. Hi Eve, how are you? Eve Anya,
Mbaire amesoma na Koreans tafadhali.
Hakuna shida, ngoja kidogo. Eve Anya, can you date a man that cries?
Watu wa Korea wanajua kusoma the mind.
Mimi nilipita huko.
Hakuna, okay, sawa. Sasa goja tukurudisha nyuma kidogo. Ile siku ulikuwa una date. Would you have considered that man if angekuwa analia? Angekuwa mtu wa kulia?
Hapana. Culture yetu hairuhusu.
Asante. Asante. Michelle, unasikia hiyo maneno? Michelle.
Mbaire anaelewa na mzungu sasa.
Wacha tuulize Claire Benson. Claire, you are in
Rod, niulize mimi.
Goja, wewe nakujua, goja kidogo.
Niulize.
Wewe goja kidogo, Rea, wewe goja. Claire, hi, how are you from Qatar?
I'm fine. Yes, I'm fine.
Yes. Can you date men that cry?
Hapo noma. Pia mitulie sasa wote.
Kwani si mnaendanga saloon siku hizi wote? Si wanaume wanaendanga kushuka nywele?
Ni ngumu.
Wanaendanga kushuka nywele.
Ngoja tuulize.
Nini mbaya na kulia?
Ngoja tuulize. Fa nini? Wapi huyu? Fazla David, how are you? Hi.
Hi, Rodriguez.
I'm very fine, thank you. In fact, Mimi, I know you are married. Thank God. We love you for that. But before you got married, in your dating pool, did you ever have a man that was crying? And would you consider them as your husband?
I would want to know why they are crying first. Yeah. Because for someone to cry in front of me, that means they're fighting so much demons. And if I'm not in the best place to be there to fight their demons with them, then I don't even deserve to be called their girlfriend, leave alone their wives.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Very subjective. I agree, Mbaire.
Thank you.
Why are you just giving us an example of a man who is supposed to be a husband? Wewe nani?
Hapana, goja tumalize na Rea, goja.
The other qualities that people look for when they want a husband, not necessarily crying, bwana. Unaweza kuwa ulizaliwa karibu na wanawake wanalialia ovyo pia utalia nani? Kitunguu pia inaweza fanya ulie kwa macho.
Goja tumalize hii survey. Rea, washa microphone sasa. Washa microphone. Hi Kimemia. Hi Rea.
Rod, wewe ni mchokozi.
Hapana. Wacha washe. Rea washa mic. Tuniwe tunangoja. Hii survey ishaisha by the way. Did you know?
Finally.
Yes, finally. I know you have something to say about it.
Finally. No,
say something.
My mic is on. Let me let me tell you something. I appreciate an emotional man because if he's emotional, he will understand my emotions. As a woman, I am an emotional being, and that is how we were created by God. If a man cannot understand your emotions, then I mean, utabaki uko peke yako. Itakuwa unarushiwa mkono. So I'd rather have someone who cries in front of me because I know men only cry when it's a life and death situation, not always. So if he can cry in that particular moment, I would really, really appreciate it. But if you do not cry, alafu ukufe hapo na depression uniache peke yangu, then hiyo itakuwa shida ingine. So I appreciate emotions. I'm a very emotional being.
Very good. Before tuende mbali sana, nataka kupatia mtawali nini aongee.
Mimi, I agree with both. I agree with you. I agree with you and I agree with Rea.
Goja mtash tuseme. Kwa hii survey yote tumefanya, mademu wote ni Rea peke yake amesema anaweza chukua mwanaume analianga. Thank you. I just wanted that fact to know.
Ni sawa kama ni Rea peke yake amechagua, lakini mimi remember, there's a way in which people are born. Now, people are rare in their species, and we need to understand where they're coming from. One, Fazla said you need to know why they're crying. Na kama analia juu ya kitunguu pia ni poa. Alia juu ya kitunguu manake kitunguu fanyanga macho ya mtu inalia. Kama analia because mtu amekufa, wacha alie ndio isikae ndani. Unajua kulia sometimes brings a sense of relief. I used to beat my nephew here. Ambia unalia kama mwanamke aje, unalia kama mwanamke. Wacha, my daughter had me. She came and told me, "Mom, that is wrong." Let a kid know that you need to relieve that. Otherwise, it's going to be in. Ukimwambia ni mwanamke ni analia, which is supposed to be. Anyway, that's a different discussion. But I want to say that I agree with you, because definitely there are certain things that we expect, technically because of the way our culture has taught us in the past, that a man is supposed to have unakatwa na kisu haulie etc.
Hapo sasa, hapo.
Unataka kuvumilia vumilia kimomen, vumilia unalia namna gani? Lakini pia the things that actually train us to be able to do that, so that you don't suck in. Teach somebody to suck in when it's necessary. But when it's necessary to cry, bana, they will definitely understand you. Like the way Rhea says that, anaweza kuwa anaelewa, akijua machozi yanatoka kwa nini. Siku moja atakuja kubembeleza kwa sababu ameshaipitia hapo. Lakini kama hajawahi pitia hapo, atakuelewa namna gani? Akiona unalia atasema, si ulikaza kama man, kaza jikaze, etc. So even if we say that men need to have that side, then they also need to be taught that, on the other hand, when you see somebody cry, find a way to empathize with them, find a way to console them, if you are the person or the type that does not care about crying. But if you find somebody who, ndio sababu unampata siku hizi women fall in love with other women, because women can understand women. But if there was a way in which there was a balance, women would not cry, not run to other women. They will know that there's a man there who still can be able to understand her. That's my point. That's my point. Yeah. Yeah.
Ala, bado uko ama umepotea? Oh, mic drop.
Imagine mimi nisha drop mic. I'm sure drop the mic.
Ulisha drop mic. Anasema ulisha drop mic. But anyway, let me tell you, the one thing I know for men, and I know I speak for all of the men here when I say, it's not that we don't like to cry. It's not that the society has taught us. Of course, the society has taught us different. But the one thing that I know that usually is in men, we cry when it is necessary. And those necessary times are very rare, because as a man, you are taught and you know in yourself you're not supposed to cry. Why? Because you are supposed to be the first pillar of strength in the eyes of everyone else. Na si ati ni kazi tulipewa na society, hapana. It's just something that is inbuilt in us by God, that we are supposed to be the guys who are showing strength. And so sometimes we get so overwhelmed that we forget, tunafanya ile kitu mtawala anaitanga, tunapata bottleneck. Ina pile mpaka inaleta shida. So the issue isn't that whether we cry or not. The issue is, have you provided an avenue for us to be able to express ourselves like the way Mwaura has said? Najua sasa mtawali, najua Michelle na nani, Michelle na Elizabeth hapa wanataka kuongea. Okay, Michelle, say something. Tukimalizia show sasa.
For me, first, I didn't like Rodrigo the way ulikuwa unasema, would you date a man who likes to cry? Si ati tunasema walie bure, but that's weird for a man.
Hakunanga chakulia bure, hakuna mtu ulia bure kama hujaijua. Hakuna
analia in every situation. What you are saying is, like, for example, venye daktari amesema, if you lose a family member or you're going through a tough situation, it's okay for you guys to cry. Hiyo ndio tunataka tu. Seti mlie sana, by the way.
Hakuna chakulia, kama nalia bwana. Hakuna, usiweke limit. Ukiweka limit sasa unanikasirisha. Alexander, say something to Michelle. Lex, say something to Michelle. Huyu anasema tusilie sana bwana. What is kulia sana?
Ayo mazipia mimi simuelewi. Even me, I cannot understand what you mean.
What is kulia
I don't understand
sana?
what you mean.
Yes. Hey, hii kulia sana ndo gani? But anyway, thank you so much, guys. Of course.
Wait, Rodrigo, by the way,
Absolutely.
let me tell you something also.
Yes.
It's okay to cry for a man to cry, but I've noticed something about men who cry. Men who cry have a feminine side. That means they're able to understand women.
I concur with that.
They have a feminine side. They're able to understand women and are lovable. That the ladies' men, wale wa mademu folia too, because they're able to understand the woman's side. The only unfortunate thing about this, and I say it very softly, unfortunate thing about this ni kwamba mwanaume kama huyo anaweza kwenda kuomba demdo bila kuogopa. Most men who are men don't depend on women for money. My husband will never ever ask me for money. Never. If he asks me for money,
name. Yes.
Because of Helen, ebuni kuna nisaidia hapo, saidia. Si ati ananiomba ati nimsaidia hapana. Ebu saidia hapo. Na ni command, si ati kwamba unaweza kuwa na 50 bob nisaidie niende zipa hata kama hana hawezi. But wale wanalianga ni rahisi kuambia, "Mom, nilikuwa nataka tu ile 3K, nisaidie na ile 3K na hata sikia kitu." That one is a woman. Sorry. Hakuna woman side, yani anaweza na hata stuka. A man for a man, wanaume wale wengine wanakuanga wale hawajui kutanua nywele, sura mbaya, anaweza kukaa mahali pamechafuka na stuki. Mwanaume ule anaweza kukaa mahali na atengeneze safi upate mosha vyombo. Hao ndio wale wanaweza kuempathize, utapata nalia bure natalia stick kwa ubaya.
Huyu amechoma.
And it does not mean, Rodrigo, that the men who are men, who don't cry, who are not tired, etc., that those are the men. They're not lesser. They're still men. Ukiangalia geography na biology, it explains that kuna shotgun. Lakini sasa ni short ama long. Yeah. Lakini kuangalia vizuri kuna vitu tu, ni kama tu sisi wanawake pia kuna wanawake ambao wanaweza kuwa ni wanawake wako na side ya wanawake, lakini utapata kama ni Othuogo anaenda huko mikutano ya wanaume yuko wanaongea like a man. Mimi sijasema ni mimi, wanaongea ni kama hao ni wanaume. Yani they can make command kama mwanaume, they can make things run without men. It doesn't mean that it is making them become a lesser woman. They are still women. Na wamebeba material na matatizo.
Hebu ngoja kwanza nisome. Yes, thank you. Nataka kusoma hii Mbaire anasema hivi. Ngoja nisome. Mbaire anasema, fundamentally, Rod, what you have said is that females are weak because we express emotions. No, that is not what I have said, but thank you. E.g. via crying, you are contradicting yourself. Mara unasema kila mtu haliangi bure, mara men cry when it's necessary. Are you implying that we cry unnecessary as women? Yes. Women cry unnecessarily. Ukitaka kunipeleka jela, unaweza nipeleka. Any woman who opposes that,
be
please.
not dramatic.
Weka mkono juu. Yes. Women cry unnecessarily, even when it is not necessary, and that crying is not a sign of weakness, by the way.
No, sometimes we actually want attention. So it depends. That's what I'm saying. Some people say that people cry for different reasons.
Ndio hiyo attention
kwa
wanaume wengine it is unnecessary, lakini sasa Mbaire atanimaliza.
Ndio nasema sasa wewe hiyo side hauna. Sasa una wengine tu vile tu nasema wanaweza kuwa una clean, unasema this is clean. Wewe ni mwanaume na una clean, is it cleaning unnecessarily? You don't disqualify and say it's unnecessary. There must be a reason why someone is crying. Ndio nasema inaweza kuwa ni kitunguu inafanya una layer, na kuna wengine ulia because of a certain reason. You will understand. It gives you power to empathize with women. Gives you power to be able to understand somebody else who would be in that position. Doesn't make you lesser. Yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%. Now Mtawali has explained better than I could. So before I get myself into hot soup, ladies and gentlemen, Michelle and Elizabeth take over. Funga show sasa.
Hata Elizabeth alienda.
Ni sawa. Sema. Aya, funga show Michelle sasa ama tuende.
Kata tuende tumalize. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you. This was a nice conversation. See you next time.
Asanteni sana, tuonaneni next time. Good night to all of you.
Tutakufundisha jinsi ya kusema vote of thanks vizuri na
Madi
kukata show
hajui
vizuri.
kufunga show
Hiyo ni
bwana,
kama kata na wembe.
ananichomea.
Tumemaliza show
Unachoma
endeni
bwana.
home.
Rodrigo,
Michelle.
hiyo.
Uliona shule
Unachoma. Wewe
gani?
funga
Hiyo ni
Michelle
school of schools kweli. Hiyo yako ni ya rule of development of the Church of the Catholic of the school. XYZ.
Michelle, funga show vizuri bana, twende tukalale. Funga show vizuri.
Manze wa. So nifungie hii.
Tufunge show twende.
Kwani tunaomba? Sawa basi.
Tufunge macho tuombe.
We, funga show aja, ni saa 4, funge ni show twende.
So thank you for showing up to the show. This was a nice session. We learned a lot. Thank you, Madam Tawali, for joining us. You have really us with knowledge kama kawaida. Rodrigo, kata, tushamaliza. Thank you.
Asanteni sana. Thank you so much guys. Tuonaneni next time.
Rudi Sule haraka. Akuje huko anifundishe kulia.
By the way, kuna swali hapa Mtasha ameuliza watu wa AOV. Are we meeting tomorrow? Ama ni mimi peke yake nimeulizwa Mtash?
No, tomorrow is Saturday hour. Hey, please. Sunday. Wale tutakutana ni watu wa group yangu ya. Sunday tunachagua nani anaingia kwa Sule, anapewa padlock. Wale watakosa kupewa padlock waende
Ni sawa. Haya, by the way, kuna concert ya AOV on Sunday inaitangwa nimesahau hiyo jina but tutaandika invite, tutatumia kila mtu. Thank you so much guys for being part of this show. Till next time, tuonaneni. Thank you.